Tipping say the Kajaro Chan Catalubari, Chan Loma, Cha Tatawariga, when you be a piece name.
In cultivating the tree of Vipassana is just like cultivating a little vegetable garden, so to speak. You have to put up the fences so that the vegetables will be safe from attack by pests.
Sayadaw
will deal in greater detail with this aspect of Vipassana agriculture later on, but for today that will just be all.
Sutta Nugihita Sura Yanka Tintore Tia Jana Jumshi Vipassana Miyu Vipassana Samadhi Go Social Cargo Pia Med Saitari Tipe Shinta Onlu Luate Yi Long Bid Luabe.
Sutta Nugahita refers to the cultivating of knowledge, so to speak, or making sure that whatever you learn or hear is well taken care of. And that is equivalent to watering your vegetables in your garden.
Etelo Sutta Nugihita Piezon Dwalushi Letwi Chintone Aka Pago Shumayare Shumade Kajaro Padabori Tweedware Bari Belus Raboni Swinuyabare Yankawari Siaji Dwavi Swinuyare Go Atoponi Timbiade Atolu Twitchung Jetty body Bari Tweed Belu Tweed Sarabari Rasian Swinida Sakija Nogita Kovare Kona Tipping Piton La Lucia Tipping Yema Amima Boya or Mi Pupiraru Mi Jalushi Tu Swabido Miro Milpiraru Mi Jani Luci Amiga Lola Lamadwana no Pinha Mi Atue Coca Macom a me Lola Dwaye to Miro Milpide so that she were at the lower at the Hova. Utea Sicilia Sura Sayane Swinwida Machine Secretary Shin or Molida Swinwida at the Hova.
The third aspect is Sakicca Nugahita, which is the aspect of discussing your experiences with your teacher. It's very much like cultivating a plant. You have to look after the plant, you keep a watch on how the plant grows up. At times you have to loosen the soil, at other times you have to trim it and make sure that other foliage do not cover it, and so forth. So too, in this practice, we have to constantly get involved in discussion with our teacher. We have to report our experiences to our teacher in a very accurate and precise way. How we note objects as they arise, what happens when we note them, how we note them, and so forth. And only when such matters are discussed with the teacher can the teacher have the opportunity to point out mistakes, or to make corrections, to put you back on the right path, to make sure that you do not stray away.
Samatha Nukahita Saragaro Mimi say Simha Nivarana Klita Imawaya Aulu Pamu Pemuga Sa Porain Ayongo Say Asai Chinaka Video Swiss Mie Shumaya Vale Shumia Amuma Sikli Susi Pinia Vale Edru Susi Pini Lucia Nivarana Naushia Tayari when you with a municipal Kuna Site had it tipping Puma way out, Pumakay out, Jurin Kawa Pidani. The Galu Puri Jara resolution level Tindo de Nine, Pesha Pima, Titipen Ha, the PB Nation Tan Lama, Ginger Lama.
The fourth aspect is called Samatha Nugahita, which refers to the concentration of mind needed to make sure that we are not attacked or assaulted by the hindrances. And this concentration of mind can be achieved with the help of 1. Effort, and 2. Accuracy in aim. With perseverance and accuracy in aim, in trying to note every object that arises at its moment of occurrence without slipping, this would help to maintain that state of mind which will be free from assault by the hindrances. This is quite similar to the process of cultivating a plant where you take preventive measures to make sure that plants are not assaulted by pests. And even if they are assaulted by certain pests, we have to apply more drastic measures like pesticides and insecticides and so forth.
Edilu say Sima Nivarana Kirita Puri Moya on South Shop Piro Tipping Lydia, 2 Chajaji from you Lavare. The Vipassana Tamadeti ha Pumo Pyu Lip Lavare. Davi Malu the Karakam ha Tia Shumalu Kauye Hera Ridigo Sue Tavare. Didiari at the Kauna Vesuda, Suela Nitu and Ilushi. She Mateto Bow. Luin Panem Yoto Kuna Tipima Pingu Lady, Nitu and Ilushi. Cheat farm took Sami to the one in the loo. Told to Vatana never told Sami to the one him. Told Saint Wallace, Meti for the Massanimo. Uvatana, Asali loved him for Pene. Uvatana, Balawa Uvatana. Pity at he body. Pibito, no sumbana out there, he chose at over Luare. Here are Uvatana Samadeti to cover.
Thus, with the first 4 aspects well taken care of, we present an opportunity for Vipassana Jnana, for insights to arise. But still, these insights, some of them, may be the cause for attachment. And if a yogi becomes attached to any of his unusual experiences, it is bound to hinder him in his progress. And so in order to go beyond these hindrances, we could say these booby traps, we have to make further effort and to be on our toes, to keep on the lookout. And only if we are able to let go of all these lesser thrills of Vipassana insights, will we be able to savor the deeper and more juicy levels of Vipassana insights.
Any Nogita Ngamuda, no so Napaha, Yogi at the same zone. Samata Nukita Mia Lili, Singing on, boy, only, my mabby, see Susim, Akon Lili. It Vipassana Samadhi, Vipassana Nukita, level Akon Lili, Shibane. Uma Bane to Lesolishi. The top in Yayama, improvement in failings like Shiva, Umukas and co legends. Pounding beer. Pounding beer, Tipini, ha, the Venetian, Majap. Majado, Neo, ha, Poo, ha, Luatlu Yala. You know, Pinjadi will have a chapiame. You know, Pounding beer, Pounding Milushi, Neo Chileve, Lulalachi, Willa. Dhamma tipping ha yimman. Read the bomb you be. The mata agong lily. Nianiale pun la video, a leon a winley, a leon winley, the say however, gingerly lips in him.
Of these 5 aspects, the last 2 are especially relevant to our situation here in this retreat. With concentration of mind, as the mind becomes more and more collected and focused on whatever is happening at any of the 6 sense doors at its moment of occurrence, then the mind has the opportunity to penetrate deeper and deeper into the true nature of reality. And so the last 2 aspects of samatha nugahita and vipassana nugahita is interdependent on one another and would eventually lead one to a very deep level of understanding. These 2 aspects can perhaps be equated to what is called improvement felling in the art of cultivating cultivating trees for lumbering. It seems that in the art of cultivating forests for lumbering, improvement felling is a technique that is used to make sure that the trees are not grown in too dense an area and not too sparse an area, and they are grown in such a way that each tree will have sufficient sunlight and nutriment and so forth. So too we must apply the same principle to the practice. Right now we shall be concerned with the 3rd aspect, which is sakacca nugahita, the discussion of your experiences with your teacher.
Hello, Sakija Nugahita Lote Kama Chain Turune Luyen body, Mibute Yechivara.
In such discussions with the teacher, it is important to bear in mind 2 things. One is brevity, and the second is precision.
Chain Turune Luyen Yapuya and Dine Yogi Miyago Lankin Bibu.
Today the Sayadaw will attempt to lay out a path for all yogis here present to help them to successfully participate in a discussion with bearing these 2 important points in mind, brevity and precision.
Lampun Begu Ngara Sujabazagu, Pong Bemua Savido, Madeka Patama Zomboli Mimidu Ha Diamana Selina Ishide. The Selina Ilega time video atute nai bong balok. Senior shall be the atute nai bong balok sara. Patamazon Paumi of Pio.
Right. The first thing for you to do is to find out how many hours of meditation you're doing. You've got 24 hours per day, and you have to first report to your teacher how many hours of sitting you did for that day, and how many hours of walking you did.
Dilo Luching will be absent, Mimido ha the care chain be low to bars, or the carriage she be up shit one.
If you're able to be truthful and honest in reporting the total hours of our meditation practice, this will certainly demonstrate that we are very sincere and earnest yogis.
The name Tamido Atude Naibo, Jane Bong, Jane Jane and Pio Molo. The two Jane the board to the Shiva, two bony to the Shiva.
It is not necessary to describe each and every sitting in detail. There are some sittings which may be similar, and if you encounter similar experiences in various sittings, then it would just suffice if you could combine all of these experiences together and present them as a general report.
Luyinga Manepai the chain Kong Pong bit of your Nilevan the chain Ato Kong Yavan the chain Kong Boni Pound Savid of your line Lopare.
It may be useful, or it may be useful to keep this suggestion in mind. So I'd also suggest that perhaps you could just pick out the best sitting you had in the morning, and the best sitting you had in the afternoon, and one at night, and to just make a report of these 3 best sittings.
Edalu Pure Kama Time Bido Atoto Chigan Pit Pau Bunga Savido Pio the Yechivade. The Pavelo Chiga the Yechivade. Chigan Pine on Lupune Pamene Pion Hamuda Yechivade.
When you start to report on your sitting, the most important thing to begin with is your basic object of meditation. Here, as the Sayadaw had described last night, the basic object of meditation given is the rise and fall of the abdomen. So when you come in to report in your sitting, you should begin with your rising and falling. And after describing your experiences with the rise and fall, you may add in other experiences you had, for example, with sitting and touching and so forth. But Sayadaw would like to stress the importance of making sure that the basic foundation is well taken care of.
Senior shout the Kama level, Yalampe, Churcha, Jolancha, the Yichi.
And the similar principle is applied to reporting on your walking meditation. Please report experiences which have direct connection to the walking movements. When you're following the walking movements, if you're taking the 1-step or say the 3-step movement of raising, pushing and placing, you should try to describe each movement and the experiences that you had with each of these movements.
So time is Shumate Kama Chet Tonja Shiva, the pure yogi pure Chetonja Pomu Polare Pound Shumate ဘာလဲသူဘယ်လိုလဲဆိုတာမြင်တဲ့ဟာကိုပြောပြရမယ်ဒါပဲဖောက်မှုပေါ်လာတယ်မှတ်တယ်သိတယ်အဲ့ဒါပဲအဲ့ဒီသုံးပိုင်းကိုတော့ပြီးပြီးတတ်တာပြောပါပဲပိန်မှုပေါ်လာတယ်ပိန်တယ်လို့မှတ်တယ်သိတယ်အဲ့ဒီသုံးပိုင်းပြီးပြီးတတ်တာပြောရမယ်
In describing your experiences with any object of meditation, any object of awareness or mindfulness, you should first understand that it is a three-phase process. A three-phase process of reporting. The first phase is to identify what is occurring. The second phase is to report how you note it. And the third phase is to describe what you see, or what you feel, or what you understand, or what was happening when you noted it. So, for example, if you're watching or you're attempting to describe the rising and falling, the first phase is for you to identify the occurrence. You say, okay, the rising occurs. The rising process of the abdomen occurs. The second phase is to note it. Well, I note it as rising. I make a mental note and note it rising. And the third phase is to describe what was happening. As I noted the rising process, this is what I experienced, these are the sensations I felt, this was the behavior of those sensations at that time, and so forth.
ဥပမာပြောမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဆိုကြပါစို့ဒီမှာဒါတွေပြတယ်ယောဂီဒါပါလဲဆိုရင်ယောဂီများမျက်မှောက်မှာပေါ်လာပြီဒီမှာဒါပါလဲပေါ်လာတာတစ်ပိုင်းမျက်မှောက်မှာရောက်လာတာတစ်ပိုင်းကြည့်လိုက်တာတစ်ပိုင်းမြင်လိုက်တာတစ်ပိုင်းသုံးပိုင်းရှိပါတယ်ဒီတော့ပေါ်လာတာကိုစိုက်ကြည့်လိုက်တဲ့အခါကျတော့ကြည့်တာတမန်ကရှန်ကကြည့်လို့မရပါဘူးစိုက်ပြီးတော့ကြည့်ရမှာပါစိုက်ပြီးတော့ကြည့်လိုက်တယ်တေချာစေအားစိုက်ပြီးတော့ဒီပေါ်မှာရောက်အောင်ကြည့်လိုက်တယ်ကြည့်လိုက်တော့မြင်မိနာကြီးဒါဘာပဲဆိုတာသိပါဘယ်လိုဆိုတာဒီနာကြီးဟာမတိရေကလေးနဲ့အုပ်ထားတယ်အရွယ်စားဘက်လောက်ဆိုတာဒါပြောနိုင်တာပဲအဖြေပေးနိုင်တာပဲဒီတော့မျက်မှောက်မှာပေါ်လာတာတစ်ပိုင်းကြည့်လိုက်တာတစ်ပိုင်းနဲ့မြင်တာတစ်ပိုင်းမြင်ပြီဆိုရင်သူဘာပဲလို့ဆိုတာဖြေနေရမယ်ဒါကြီးသုံးပိုင်းပါ
Sayadaw would like to illustrate what he means by a practical demonstration. So if you could open your eyes and look up. Please look at this. There is something in my hand which has just been brought to your attention. And before this occurred, you would not be able to see anything because it has not occurred yet. But because it has been shown to you, this is the first phase. It has occurred, and the second phase is for you to direct your attention towards it. Alright? It has to occur first before you can direct your attention towards it. If it's not there, then you can't see it. It occurs, and you direct your attention towards it, and then you look at it. Directing your attention towards it, after it has occurred, you can see what it is. Right? You can describe how it looks like, what's the size, what's its color, and so forth. So similarly, when you're making a report on your experiences, you are requested to follow the same procedure, to identify what has occurred and to describe how you direct your attention towards it, how you note it. If it's rising, then you say, okay, rising has occurred, and I look at it and I note it mentally as rising. And thirdly, the third phase is, as you look at it, as you note it, what do you see? What do you experience? What's happening there?
အဲ့ဒါကြည့်တဲ့အခါမှာတော့ခက်ရှန်ရှန်ခက်ရှက်ရှက်ကြည့်လို့မရပါဘူးစိတ်အားစိုက်ပြီးတော့ချိန်သက်ကြိုက်ပြီးတော့စူးစိုက်စိုက်ကြည့်မှာပါတိတ်လို့တယ်ကြည့်အားမှာကြည့်တဲ့နေရာမှာစိတ်အပြည့်ထားပြီးတော့အင်အားစုတွေထည့်ပြီးတော့ကြည့်မှရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီမြင်ကွင်းစီတက်ကက်စီကို စိတ်အပြည့်ရောက်သွားအောင်အားဆက်ရမယ်တဲ့တဲ့ကြသွားအောင်ချိန်သားကြိုက်ပြရမယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုနည်းနဲ့ကြည့်မှရပါတယ်ဒါလိုပဲဖောင်းမှုပိန်မှုကိုလည်းပဲဖောင်းမှုကိုလည်းပဲအဲ့ဒီစီစိတ်အပြည့်ရောက်သွားအောင်စိတ်အားဆက်ရမယ်တွန်းပို့ရမယ်တဲ့တဲ့ကြသွားအောင်ချိန်သားကြိုက်ပြရမယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုနည်းနဲ့ကြည့်မှရောက်ပါတယ်
Sayadaw has a few words to say on looking, on seeing. It's not enough to just look at an object in a very indifferent way, or to look at an object in a haphazard way. It is essential that one must have the fullest amount of commitment plus the greatest amount of accuracy involved when one is looking at an object that has arisen. Being fully committed means that one puts one's heart and soul, so to speak, into what's happening. You look at it with your heart and your soul. And you look at it accurately. You really direct your whole attention to what's happening, and you look at it and you keep your attention there so that you can penetrate into its true nature.
ဆိုလိုတာတော့ပေါ်လာတဲ့အာယုံကိုရှုမှတ်တဲ့အခါမှာဘယ်ဟာရထားတဲ့စာတွေကိုရွတ်တယ်လို့မှတ်လို့မရဘူးဆိုတာတော့အဲ့ဒါတော့နားလည်ထားဖို့ပါပဲ
And what the Sayadaw is trying to point out is that it will not do if you just keep on noting objects as they arise in a sort of a very unmindful and automatic way, like repeating a mantra or reciting some formula in your mind. This is not a recitation practice. It is for you, the mental notes are for you to help you to direct your attention to what's happening so that you can see clearly what's happening there.
ဖောင်းမှုမှတ်တဲ့အခါမှာပေါ်လာတာရှုတာတိတာဒီသုံးပိုင်းကိုပြောရတယ်လို့ထို့အတူပဲပိန်မှုလည်းပဲဒီတိုင်းပဲ
Well, the same principle is applied to the falling process. So if you're describing the falling process, you should have start to do so in accordance with this three-phase system of reporting. The occurring of the falling process, the noting of it, and thirdly, a description of what sensations are happening during the falling process, and other observations.
အဲ့ဒီလိုဖောင်းမှုပိန်မှုကိုတစ်စေရှုမှတ်နေတဲ့အခါစိတ်ဆိုတာကိုထားရမနေပါဘူးစိတ်ဆိုတာထွက်တတ်ပါတယ်စိတ်ကူးမျိုးစုံဖြစ်တတ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုစိတ်ကူးမျိုးစုံဖြစ်လာပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်စိတ်ကူးတယ်ဆိုတော့မှတ်တာမှတ်လိုက်တော့ဒီစိတ်ကူးကဘာဖြစ်သွားတယ်ရှေ့ဆက်စိတ်ကူးနေသလားအရှိန်တည်သွားသလားနောက်ဆုံးစိတ်ကူးအစဉ်ပြတ်သွားသလားဆိုတာပြောဖို့အရေးကြီးပါတယ်စိတ်ကူးပေါ်လာတယ်မှတ်လိုက်တယ်သူဘာလဲဘယ်လိုလဲအဲ့ဒါကြီးပြောပြဖို့ပါ
Although we may try our hardest to keep constant mindfulness on the rise and fall of the abdomen, it may not be possible at times for the mind to be so well behaved. Frequently it will wander off, and at that point a new object has arisen, a wandering mind. Secondly, do it. How do we handle it? You note it. The second phase. How do you note it? You note it as wandering. All right. And the third phase is what happens after you note it. Did it disappear? Did it just keep on wandering? Did the thoughts reduce in intensity? Or did they just disappear?
အဲ့ဒီလိုကိစ္စပြီးစီးတဲ့အခါမှာကိုယ်မှတ်မြဲဟာကိုပြန်ပြီးတော့မှတ်သလားမမှတ်ဘူးလားမှတ်နိုင်သလားမှတ်နိုင်ဘူးလားဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါလေးပြောဆက်ပြောရလို့လိုပါတယ်
In the event of the disappearance of the wandering mind, we are supposed to come back to the basic object of rise and fall. And again, at that point, one should make it a point to report whether one is able to come back to the rising and falling, and how one fares as one tries to do that.
ဒီတော့ဘောင်းပေမှတ်နေစဉ်တော်လေးထိုင်ကြတဲ့အခါကျတော့ကိုယ်ရဲ့ကခံစားမှုအမျိုးမျိုးတွေပေါ်ပါတယ်ကောင်းခံဆိုးခံစားမှုကောင်းခံစားမှုစိတ်ထဲမှာလည်းပဲမချမ်းသာမှုစသည်ဒီလိုပေါ်တတ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီလိုပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ပေါ်လာတယ်ရှုလိုက်တယ်သူပါလဲပြောပြဖို့လိုပါတယ်ဆိုကြပါစို့တဏှာကရတာလေးပေါ်လာတယ်ရတာကိုမှတ်တယ်ဒီရတာတူရလာသလားတန့်သွားသလားပြေသွားသလားပျောက်သွားသလားဆိုတာကြက်ကြနနာပြောနိုင်ရမယ်
After some time of sitting, invariably we would encounter some unpleasant sensations, probably a pain here or an ache there, and so forth. So this also should be handled in the same way that we talked about earlier. Say it's an itch suddenly occurs. So there's a new object that has occurred, and that's the itching. What do? You note it itching. What happens? Does the itch continue to get worse? Did it just remain as it is, neither neither increasing in intensity nor decreasing in intensity? Or is it beginning to reduce in intensity? Or does it disappear? So these are the things that you should describe to your teacher as precisely as possible.
အဲ့ဒီလိုပဲဖောင်းနာပိဏဆင်မှတ်နေရင်ကသဘောတရားအမျိုးမျိုးတွေထွေပေါ့လေထွေရာပေါ့လေမှတ်စရာတွေလည်းပေါ်တတ်ပါတယ်မြင်တာတွေရှိတယ်ကြားတာရှိတယ်နားတာရှိတယ်စားတဲ့တောက်တဲ့အခါရှိတယ်ပြီးတော့ကိုယ်ကထိတွေ့တဲ့အခါပူရာနွေးတာအေးတာတောင်းတာတင်းတာလှုပ်တာရှိတယ်ပြီးတော့တိတာတွေကြံတိတာတွေပေါ့လေဒါတွေရှိပါတယ်အထွေတွေအဲ့ဒီအထွေတွေတစ်ခုပေါ်လာတဲ့အခါမှာပေါ်လာတယ်မှတ်လိုက်တယ်သူတို့ဘာလဲဘယ်လိုလဲဆိုတာလည်းပဲပြောပြဖို့လိုပါတယ်
In the process of meditation, you will encounter a wide range of objects. Besides the basic object of rising and falling and wandering mind and unpleasant sensations, you will also encounter visions and sights, sounds and tastes, other sensations in the body like heat and cold and tightness and vibrations and tingling sensations and so forth. It's an unending procession of such objects. In any case, all you have to do is to apply the same principle, the three-phase system of reporting. What occurs, how you note it, and what happens, what do you see as you note it.
ဒီတော့အလုံးခြုံလိုက်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပေါ်ရာရဲ့ရှုတာရဲ့သိတာရဲ့ဒီသုံးပါပါပဲအဲ့ဒီသုံးချက်ကိုပြောပြဖို့ပါပဲ
To recapitulate, the Sayadaw says that there's nothing much actually into reporting. You just have to bear in mind these 3 phases: occurring, noting, and what happens.
Every people that come as a guy who chichilin, Nitara Shishi, 2 jari aquacuda, you chebi to Piotapu and Chusabulu.
Please try to be as precise and accurate and frugal as you can when it comes to description of your experiences. What is needed is the essence of your experience. It is not necessary to go into anything more than that. In other words, you are supposed to keep to the bare minimum without any extras, precise, concise, and comprehensive. It will also be good if you can remember that you are given a certain amount of time for your reporting, and you should try to arrange your report in such a way that it will fit into the 10 minutes that you are given, so that it will not trespass on another person's appointment. To go again into the whole process of reporting, say for instance that the yogi comes into the room and he's supposed to describe his experiences. It is required of him to report whether he was able or unable to note whatever object that has a reason, say the rising and falling, whether he had the effort and perseverance to note it, whether he had the accuracy of mind to be mindful of it. Second thing for him to do is to demonstrate whether he can express his experience in a competent way. The first thing we talked about just now is about the actual task. Is he able to do it or not? And the second one is whether he is able to express his experience, provided he has been able to follow the object. And the third thing is for him to actually express his experience in a very precise and concise way.
bên này ai cũng mắt này bút suy xây tiền mà chỉ đâu xây tiền này giàu này xây thuê này thuê mà đào không bao giờ cố để mà khán giả tôi miêu gì mà giàu này mà cha hari bỏ lại mắt này mình sẽ nói chỉဖြစ်သမျှပေါ့လေပေါ်သမျှဟာတွေကိုမှတ်ပုံရောတိပုံရောပြောပြဖို့လိုပါတယ်
The fourth one is assuming that the yogi is not able to note the basic object. And so when that happens, then something else must be happening. If he's not able to note the basic object of rising and falling, then the mind must have gone elsewhere. So it's now up to the yogi to describe what has happened. How come he's not watching the rising and falling? Where is the mind? Has it gone astray, or has it fallen upon some painful sensations that had suddenly occurred? So that is the duty of the yogi.
Mangalo Tripitha Upadana Daya Atukde Sura Kuku Pian Bido Lila research looked up. He research low twitching jetty go Timjada Babe.
Actually, Vipassana meditation is nothing more than a research into the self. And as you all know, in all research projects, we have to come up with a report on our findings. Similarly, when you are doing Vipassana meditation and you're doing the research into yourself, then you have to come up with an objective and precise report on your findings.
Being local research lology, Twitching Jaku, Titi Jaja to a Timbia Valley. Dhamma research Luya Yapare.
In the scientific world, in the world of science, when one is undertaking a research project, a very high level of objectivity and precision is required.
Sari Mabaya Bao, Titi Jaja Dua, Puri Mabaya Bao Duaro.
There are no extras, no frills and frowns, no decorations, just the bare essentials.
Ku yogi mia Tini Lankin Sakasu Pure Pavi. Ku Tawon Chide, Punizima Lavido Pure Way body, yogi mia Maniga Savido, Tania Savido, Tia Winyavade. Kuku research Loponi, Titi Jaja. And looked at twitching jetty go lavido Timjabo Babe. Luade Hari Pipi Bame, Pido Pure Hari Leve Pipi Bame, Sunu Pibame.
So much for this whole system of reporting your experiences to the teacher. And Sayadaw hopes that our explanation today will suffice for you to come and meet with him, to engage in discussion, and he hopes that we will be able to help you to help yourself. So,
who you get a Hari, Lankin Zagazuba.